time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday evening to you. Dodgers and Phils, Game 3 of the 4-game series. The Phils started the year losing 6 out of 9. They're trying to win their 4th in a row tonight, and should they do that, they're beginning to catch up on Atlanta. They began the game just 3 games back. For the Dodgers, they started well, but they've now lost 5 of the last 8. They're a half a game in front of Colorado, and the Rockies, by the way, lost today. The pitching matchups. Cole Hamels, he's had tendinitis in the left bicep. This will be his first start of the year. For Hamels, 3-0 against the Dodgers, an earned run average of 2.2. Last time he pitched here at Dodger Stadium was in the LCS with Philadelphia back in 2009. On the mound for the Dodgers, Zach Greinke, he has that rather unbelievable streak, 16 consecutive starts. He's gone at least 5 innings, and he has not allowed more than 2 runs in any of those starts. You have to go back to 1914 to see any record such as that. So the Dodgers and Phils, Game 3. They'll conclude the big series tomorrow night. Kyle Kendrick for Philadelphia, Dan Harron for the Dodgers. So those are the pregame notes. Stay with us. Ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Dodgers baseball. It's time for Dodger baseball, the saying made famous by our own Vin Scully. Game 3 of a 4-game set between the Phillies and the Dodgers. Welcome inside Dodger Stadium, everybody. I'm Alana Rizzo. You might have noticed Adrian Gonzalez not in the Dodgers lineup today, and that's a little bit of a strange thing to see considering he has played. He has started in every single game so far this season. 21 previous games. There's nothing wrong with him. Don Mattingly saying he just basically wants to give him a day off. It's not that he doesn't even have bad numbers against Cole Hamels. 8 for 27, a .296 average against the Philadelphia pitcher. But with off days coming at a premium, Mattingly wants to give him the day off. Of course, Adrian Gonzalez not wanting to be taken out of the lineup. Met it with a little bit of resistance, but certainly understands. Scott Van Slyke will take his place at first base. It will be the 10th time he has played the position at the big league level. Scott Van Slyke's versatility is certainly what makes him so valuable with this team. 2 for 3 against Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels making his season debut for the Phillies, again having that left biceps tendonitis on the DL. For the first 3 weeks of the season, it will be up to Zach Greinke for the Dodgers to stop the 2-game skid, if you will. Phillies and Dodgers coming up next. Vin Scully on the call.
To you wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium for Game 3 of the 4-game series with the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies trying for their 3rd in a row against the Dodgers and trying to have a 4-game winning streak. Dodgers trying to snap a little sketch where they have gone 5 losses in their last 8 games. So as the Dodgers take the field, both teams with a purpose. Philadelphia creeping up on Atlanta. Even though they were in last place, they've moved out of that spot, and they're only 3 games back of Atlanta. For the Dodgers, at the beginning of the day, Colorado was a half a game behind them, but Colorado lost in extra innings to the Giants this afternoon. So Zach Greinke goes to the mound trying to stifle the Philadelphia Phillies, and it should be duly noted, you know, from the beginning of the 2012 season through Tuesday night's game against the Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium, the Phillies had just 5 days when they did not have an everyday position player or member of the 5-man rotation on the DL. It happened during a little stretch in 2012, those 5 days after Roy Halladay finished a stint on the DL, and it was just before Placido Polanco was injured. So when Cole Hamels was activated and pitched tonight, this will be the 6th day where the Phillies are basically intact. Let's take a look at their lineup as filled out by Ryne Sandberg, a Hall of Fame manager. It will be Ben Revere leading off. He only had a 4-hit game last night. Jimmy Rollins at short. Chase Utley returns to the starting lineup at second base. And Ryan Howard hits cleanup at first. Marlon Byrd is in right field. Dominic Brown in left. Carlos Ruiz still wearing out the Dodgers behind the plate. Freddie Galvis, who played second base last night, plays third base tonight. And on the mound, Cole Hamels. Zach Greinke with a perfect 3-0 record. He is 3-1 lifetime against Philadelphia, and he has a marvelous ERA against them, just about the same ERA that he has this year, 2.45. 16 straight starts where he's pitched 5 innings or more and given up 2 runs or less. So Zanke trying to get the Dodgers back on the right track, and he'll be facing Ben Revere, who has had 6 hits in his last 10 at-bats and 4 hits last night, followed by Jimmy Rollins and then Chase Utley. Into the windup goes Greinke. Here we go, and the first pitch is low, ball 1. First thing about Ben Revere, if you read about him, he is a first-round pick. They normally are like big pine trees and weigh about 220 pounds, but he's the other way around. He has a look at a pitch, low, ball 2. Revere is only 5'9", 170, and I got to thinking about players who were not the big major league sizes, and all of a sudden it hit on me. Do you remember the name Hack Wilson? He played for the Cubs. Here's the 2-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken for a strike, and the count 2-1. Hack Wilson was 5'6". Ben Revere is 5'9". Wilson is the shortest home run champion ever. He led the National League in home runs in 1926, 27, 28, and 30. The 2-1 pitch, a look for a strike, and the count 2-2. Just to finish it up, Hack Wilson hit 56 home runs in 1930, and until 1998, that was a record in the National League. And Revere has plenty of bite to him. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. He looks at ball 3. Young fellow we are not familiar with. He played umpire tonight. His name is Gabe Morales. Gabe is 29 years old. He's from Livermore. Became a professional umpire just in 2009. 3-2 pitch on the way is fouled off. One last thought for Gabe. He has umpired in the Texas League, the International League, and the Pacific Coast League. And now Gabe is in the big league, so welcome to him. Revere up there, left-hand batter, throws right-handed, 3-2 the count. Waiting on deck, Jimmy Rollins, and the 3-2 pitch hit in the air to center. Going back on the ball as Kemp reaches up to make the catch. So Revere hits it hard, but goes out to center, and we have one away. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. Scott Van Slyke at first base, and then you have Turner, Ramirez, Uribe, Ethier, Kemp, and Puig in the battery of Greinke and Gutierrez. Nothing wrong with Adrian Gonzalez. He wanted to play, and Don Mattingly said, nope, it's time to sit you down, have a rest. And so, although he was edgy and wanted to get in there, he'll take the night off, and Scott Van Slyke, his replacement. First pitch to Jimmy Rollins, a little high, ball 1, 1-0. Rollins hitting .267. In his career at Dodger Stadium, he's had 3 home runs, 12 RBIs in 40-some-odd games. A remarkable ball player with all kinds of credentials. Jimmy Rollins is now going to be 36, but that won't be until November. The 2-0 pitch to Jimmy. Switch hitter, batting left-handed against Greinke. Swings, doesn't get it, and the count 2-1. Jimmy's from Oakland, California. Lives in Swedesboro, New Jersey, just across the river from Philadelphia. Had at least 4 Gold Gloves. A few years ago, he had a 38-game hitting streak. He was the MVP back in 2007, and before that, Rookie of the Year. 2-1 is high, and a 3-1 count to Jimmy Rollins. Dodgers have kept him quiet, but the man on deck they can't keep quiet. Chase Utley hitting third in the lineup. So Greinke nods yes to Butera, and the 3-1 pitch on the way. Check swing foul. Might have been ball 4. It was up and in, and it was a case of the ball hitting the bat. The bat was not in motion to hit the ball. Rollins is so good, He had a year with 20 doubles, 20 triples, 20 home runs, and 20 stolen bases. Rather remarkable combination. He's had as many as 30 home runs. And he's only 5'8" and 180. And he lifts one to center. Very playable. Looking up into the powder blue is Matt Kemp. So we've had 2 outs on fly balls to Matt. And the batter now will be Chase Utley. They don't come much better than Chase Utley. Born in Pasadena, went to UCLA. Last we checked, he was still living in the state. Utley is another fellow who has some age on him. He's going to be 36 in December. We mentioned it last night. There are so many veteran players on the Philadelphia team. They play in Citizens Park in Philadelphia. Only they call it Senior Citizens Park when it comes to a lot of the Philadelphia players. So here is Utley, as usual, a solid ball player who has always done well against the Dodgers. Utley waiting, looks at an off-speed pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-2. So Zach Greinke heaves a little sigh. He's got 2 outs here in the first inning. Bases empty. Outfield on Utley very deep and straight away. Greinke with the count his way 0-2. Utley hitting .333 against him, however, and Chase fouls it back. Utley has a home run against him in the past. So does Dominic Brown, Marlon Byrd, Tony Gwynn Jr., and Ryan Howard. Talking about Howard, he's on deck. Utley waiting, no balls and 2 strikes. Greinke into the windup, and the strike 2 pitch over the top fastball high. It's 91 on the gun. Greinke deep in thought. Utley in the first game went 1 for 5. It was a double, and it preceded the 2-run home run by Carlos Ruiz. 1-2 to Chase. Greinke ready and comes back. An off-speed pitch fouled away. So Utley just staying there, holding his own on a 1-2 count. At Dodger Stadium in his career, you want to talk about a visitor feeling very much at home. Chase Utley is batting .324 at Dodger Stadium. That's 35 games. And in those games, he has 8 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Greinke into the windup, and the 1-2 pitch. Utley swings, high fly ball to left center, and it's heading towards Matt Kemp. So he's going to make all 3 putouts in the first inning. So down go the Phillies, 1-2-3. Greinke walks off. Cole Hamels getting ready, and at the end of half an inning, no score. Game. Don Mattingly looking down the bench to see how his lineup will perform tonight. Here are the names on his card. Yasiel Puig leads off in right field, followed by the only left-hander in the lineup, Andre Ethier. Then you have Hanley Ramirez and Matt Kemp, Scott Van Slyke at first, Juan Uribe, followed by Justin Turner at second. Drew Butera does the catching tonight. Zach Greinke on the mound. On the mound for Philadelphia, Cole Hamels. He is 6'3", 200-pounder. He'll be 31 years old a couple of days after Christmas. Local boy from San Diego, went to Rancho Bernardo High School, and is a very knowledgeable pitcher ready to go to work. And the first pitch to Yasiel Puig, missing inside, ball one. If you look at his record, and he had won 17 games in 2012, looks like he had a bad year last year, 8-14, but he pitched much better than that. The 1-0 pitch on the way, foul back, 1-1. This is the first game for Hamels as he works on Puig. Yasiel hitting .254, 3 for 9, including a double. He short hopped the right center field wall for the double. So Cole looks over the fingertips to get a sign. Now he's ready. And the 1-ball, 1-strike pitch coming up. Hamels delivers, swung on a miss, a change, low and away, and he was way out in front of it. 1-2 the count. Cole Hamels, 3-0 in his career at Dodger Stadium, including pitching here in the LCS back in 2009. However, he has one real problem. We'll see if that holds up tonight or not. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Yasiel Puig. Fastball sprayed foul upstairs. Count stays 1-2. The thing about Hamels, this is his first game of the year. He's had left bicep tendonitis. So tonight is his first game. Well, in a 5-year period, his first game has been disastrous. He is 1-4, and his earned run average over that stretch is 9. 1-2 pitch is low, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. So Yasiel Puig trying to get a slumping Dodger ball club. They've lost 5 of the last 8, getting back on track. The Dodgers have a record at 12-9. However, if you realistically subtract what they've done with Arizona, you know they're not playing well at all. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Puig. Swung on and missed. Change-up, got him. You know, one of the things about Cole Hamels is a great changeup, and Puig could write a book about it because he swung and missed at a couple of them. And there's a very big reason why Hamels has been a rather successful double-win pitcher, as he's ready to face Andre Ethier. He's only made 6 pitches, 3 of them with changeups. Since 2010, you can add 1. He's now struck out 370 hitters on changeups. It doesn't mean he doesn't throw hard, but the changeup is his #1 weapon. The first pitch, a little cutter for a strike to Andre Ethier. There is a reason why Cole Hamels throws so many changeups and why he is so good doing it. He grew up in San Diego. And remember Trevor Hoffman, as good a reliever as ever lived, and that magnificent changeup he had. Little ground ball on the thumbs, fielded by Rollins, who throws out Ethier, and we have 2 down here in the first inning. So he learned as a little kid, did Cole Hamels. Grew up about 25 minutes north of Petco, but he was in the stadium when he was 14 years old when the Padres clinched the National League West back in 1998 at Qualcomm. And boy, he really fell in love with Trevor Hoffman's change, and he's brought it right with him as he faces a struggling Hanley Ramirez. As far as the Dodgers are concerned, all they know is that Hanley says he feels fine, and that's good enough for them. Hanley waits, Cole delivers, fastball at the knees at 92, 0-1 the count. When we say Ramirez is struggling, the numbers certainly substantiate that. 1 hit in his last 20 at-bats, hitting .158 against left-hand pitching. No balls and 1 strike. Hamels into the windup, back with an off-speed pitch, dropped down to 77. It is a devil of a pitch, especially when it's on the heels of a 91, 92 mile an hour fastball. So 0-2 the count to Hanley Ramirez. Hamels looks over the fingertips now to his windup. Big left-hander delivers, fastball inside to move him off the plate, and the count 1-2. Last year, despite the fact he was 8-14, I said he pitched better than that. He had 7 games that were really considered tough losses. He could easily have won them. Cole ready, Hanley waiting, and the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's another fastball down and in, 92 miles an hour. He had 25 quality starts last year, despite winning only 8 games. Averaged 103 pitches a game. Worked just about 7 innings every start last year. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball hit late and foul off first down the line out of play. Another thing that Cole Hamels does, although right now he's 2-2 with Hanley Ramirez, he gets a lot of 0-2 counts. He has a good move to first base. He's picked off 10 last year. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And yet, despite those pickoffs, the league runs on him. 2-2 pitch on the way, low and inside, another fastball. Last year, with Hamels on the mound, there were 25 stolen bases against him. Matt Kemp in the on-deck circle waiting for Ramirez. And believe it or not, there were 8 steals of third against Hamels last year. Now the 3-2 pitch coming up. Cole into the windup. And the full count pitch, fastball, big chopper, backing up for the hop as Rollins fires low to first, backhanded by Ryan Howard, and that'll be that. So each side goes down 1-2-3, and an inning in the books. Phillies and the Dodgers, no score. Second inning, no score in the ball game. By the way, the temperature at game time, a very comfortable 67 degrees. In the second inning, Ryan Howard, followed by Marlon Byrd, and then Dominic Brown. Zach Greinke got 2 fly balls from Revere and Rollins to center, and then to complete the inning, got Utley to hit a fly ball to center. So Matt Kemp had all 3 putouts, and now here's Big Howard. 1 for 7 against Greinke in the past, takes a strike, and the Dodgers load up the right side. The Dodgers, Van Slyke on the rim. Turner a good 20 feet out into right field. And Uribe is on the other side. Little trickler up along first, but it goes foul before Greinke can get to it and cut it off. So no balls and 2 strikes the count to Ryan Howard. 6'4" is Howard. Checks in at about 245 pounds at least. He'll be 35 years old the middle of November. Born in St. Louis, makes his home in Missouri. Howard not only was the quickest to reach 100 home runs, he was the fastest player in Major League history to reach 250 career home runs. Played 855 games to hit 250. Strike 2 pitch, swung on and missed. Ryan going after a ball, looked like it was out of the strike zone, so he hits himself on the side of the helmet with the bat and then shakes his head as he walks away. Pitch sailing away. Ryan annoyed. How could I swing at such a pitch like that? I've been in this league, so dummy. And back he goes into the dugout. So 1 out, and the batter now, Marlon Byrd. Marlon Byrd last night had 1 hit. It was a big one. It was a double to drive in 1 run, and it set up another. Marlon takes high, ball 1, 1-0 the count. We're in the 2nd inning, no score in the ball game. Marlon Byrd, the end of August, he will be 37 years old, fouls a pitch back. So you get the idea of why this is a veteran team, to say the least. Marlon Byrd out of Boynton Beach started his career with the Phillies. Left them for a little while, went to the Nationals, the Rangers, the Cubs, Red Sox, Mets, Pirates, and now he's back where it all started. Half swing, that'll cost him 1-2 the count. Did you hear about the Cubs today? Only to the Cubs, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Wrigley Field. Leading going into the 9th inning. Arizona scored 5 times in the 9th, beat them, and spoiled the party. Meanwhile, the pitch fouled away. Still 1-2. Jeff Samardzija was pitching well enough to win the game. Never had a shot. So Greinke working on Marlon Byrd with Dominic Brown waiting on deck. Marlon an even 6, well put together, 215 pounds. 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down he goes. So Greinke has retired 5 in a row. He has back-to-back strikeouts here. And the batter now will be Dominic Brown. Brown, left-hand batter. Good young ball player. Now he's going to be 27. He's a Florida boy from Zephyr Hills. Has a look at the first pitch off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. He went to the same high school that produced Brandon Phillips of the Cincinnati Reds, who has had a great career. 1-0 pitch on the way. That's a little high. 2-0 the count. Greinke working on Brown. 5 in a row retired. On deck, Carlos Ruiz. Greinke facing Brown, who is 1 for 6 with a home run against him. 2 balls and no strikes. And the next one is low. 3-0 the count. Ruiz on deck is 0 for 6 in the past, but he's a one-man gang against the Dodgers. The other night, a walk, 2 doubles, and a 2-run home run. Next game, big triple. Here's the 3-0 pitch, and that's in there. 3-1 the count. So Greinke trying to get his record to 4-0. He's 3-1 lifetime against the Phillies. Greinke ready, and here he comes, 3-1. Brown swings, ground ball to the right side. Justin Turner is there to make the play, and so 6 in a row retired by Zach. And we're heading to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Phillies nothing, and the Dodgers nothing. Reminder, Thursday, May 8th, Dodgers-Giants, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance will be able to take home their seat. That is, when they get their very own inflatable chair, compliments of Coca-Cola. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Second inning, no score. Cole Hamels, a tough act to follow. I mean, A.J. Burnett was terrific last night, but the night before, words fail to say how good Cliff Lee pitched, retiring 20 in a row. An interesting note on Lee. Starting September the 6th of last year, Lee has 92 strikeouts and 3 walks. And here's Matt Kemp. Fouls it away, 0-1 the count. Matt, of course, struggling against Burnett. He has had a bad time against him throughout his career. However, he is hitting .360 against Cole Hamels, so we'll see if his fortunes pick up. 0-1 the count. Cole nods yes into the windup. Strike one pitch. Matt swings. Line drive, base hit. In fact, it's closer to the corner. Backed up in the corner by Brown, and so Kemp just keeps on going with a stand-up double. So Matt Kemp hits Cole Hamels hard, hits him hard leading off, and doubles into the left field corner. And now Van Slyke, Uribe, and Turner try to get him home. For some reason, Brown was playing a strong right-hand batter pretty much in left center. And by the time Dominic went way over to pick the ball up in front of the Dodger bullpen, Matt breezed into second base. So now Scott Van Slyke getting a chance to play. Hamels pitching out of his stretch. Van Slyke 2 for 3 in the past against Hamels and takes in the dirt. Nice save by Ruiz. 1 ball and no strike. The Dodgers with home runs against Hamels in the past. Crawford 1, Ethier 2, Gonzalez 1, Ramirez 2. So a total of 6. Cole straightens up. Left-hander double checking Matt Kemp now to the plate. Ground ball into left field. Kemp was going back towards third, though he can have to stop there. Matt instinctively thought that ball was going to be fielded. Took a couple of steps back towards second and then just moved over to third. No reason to gamble anyway, as Matt holds up, and then when the ball gets through, he advances. So Uribe, Turner, and Butera now trying to pick him up. Back-to-back hits, runners at first and third, and here is Uribe. Uribe has cooled off a bit, and of course that figures. Last night he had an infield single in 4 at-bats while striking out once. Night before he struck out twice. So first and third, nobody out. Hamels delivers, jams him in on the hands with a fastball. 0-1 the count to Juan Uribe. Uribe has had a lot of trouble with Hamels. He has 1 hit in 14 at-bats against him. 0-1 the count. Uribe waiting. Hamels leans on his right knee, now straightens up. And the strike one pitch on the way. Cole's fastball is low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Uribe in the homestand is just 2 for 17, but he might perk up against the left-hander. He's hitting .316 against left-hand pitching. So Matt Kemp is at third. Van Slyke at first. Nobody out. Second inning, no score. Hamels' fastball is lifted to right field, racing over his bird. Tagging up is Kemp. The throw will go to second base to try and keep Van Slyke at first. So the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. Uribe has a sacrifice fly to right field, deep enough to cash in Kemp. So 1 out. Justin Turner coming up. Justin Turner had a big hit last night as a pinch hitter. Came into the game in the 7th inning. The Dodgers had D. Coleman at 7th inning. Gordon was at third base, and that's when Justin came up single to left, and that got the Dodgers even, only to lose it in the 10th inning. So Turner checking in, 1-0 Dodgers, followed by Drew Butera. Hamels out of his stretch, looks over at Van Slyke, works the plate and a strike, and the count 0-1. So we saw the great changeups from Cole Hamel against the leadoff hitter Yasiel Puig, but he's been throwing a lot of fastballs since. 0-1 the count. Look over at Van Slyke with one out. The strike one pitch is low and away. Cole Hamels, his mom a teacher, his dad an assistant school district superintendent. We were talking the other day about how smart Trevor Cahill of Arizona was. Graduated 5th in a class of over 600 in high school and almost destroyed the SAT test. He was so bright. Hamels the same way. Throw to first just to keep Van Slyke at the bag. Cole Hamels received a score of 1510 out of 1600 on the SAT test his senior year. Kid growing up in Southern California and being as tall as he is, played a lot of beach ball, did a lot of surfing. 1-1 pitch on the way, lifted to left field, playable. Dominic Brown is there, shy of the warning track. So a long fly ball. Back to first base goes Van Slyke. And that'll bring up Drew Butera. Dodgers lead 1-0. We're in the bottom of the second inning. Dodgers have lost the first 2 games of this 4-game series with the Phils. Last year, the Dodgers won 3 of the 4 meetings here and 5 of the 7. Butera hitting 143. Tim Fedorovich, who among other things banged up, hit on the wrist twice by Paul Goldschmidt. Catcher's interference. Hamels ready, comes to the plate. Fastball on the outside corner for a strike. And the count 0-1. Last time Cole pitched here, the League Championship Series back in 2009, he pitched game 1. Strike one pitch is instead a throw to first. We told you that the league runs on him, 25 stolen bases, 8 steals of third, but he also has a good share of pickoffs. Van Slyke, short lead, held on by Ryan Howard. And the strike one pitch on the way is swung on and missed. 0-2 the count. Cole Hamels, 15 pitches in the first inning, 12 pitches so far with Zach Greinke waiting on deck. No balls and 2 strikes. Butera waiting. And the strike 2 pitch instead, Van Slyke breaks. They've got him. And from Howard to Rollins, they tag him out. So Van Slyke really picked off breaking early. Dodgers do get 1, leave none. And at the end of 2, Dodgers lead Philadelphia 1-0. Dodgers, a busted hit and run play. You say, how do you know hit and run? When Van Slyke broke early, he was looking back at the plate. That's a sure tip-off that they were going to play hit and run with Butera. However, he broke too early and was picked off by Hamels. So 1-0 in the third. Carlos Ruiz, Freddie Galvis, and then the pitcher, Cole Hamels. Ruiz had a big first game. It always seems like he has a big game against the Dodgers. In the postseason, Ruiz hit .349 against the Dodgers. Every time you looked up, he was either scoring or knocking somebody in. Fouls the pitch away, and the count to Carlos 0-1. Nickname on the ball club, Chooch, C-H-O-O-C-H. No balls and 1 strike. He has a look and it's low 1-1. From Chiriqui, Panama. He didn't play Sunday, so when he got here he was 0 for 12, and he did some extra hitting, concentrating on his back leg. He felt he needed to drive into the ball more off the right leg. He checks his swing, and that runs the count up to 2 balls and 1 strike. Finally in the game, the legs were working, and he had that big night. He did not have an RBI until he got here. And his first game, he reached base 4 times with 3 extra base hits, 2 doubles and a home run. 2-1 the count. Greinke ready, comes back 2-1, and it's lifted to right center. It's calling now. That's right fielder Yasiel Puig making the catch, and a big grin from Matt Kemp, who has handled 3 fly balls in the first inning. I think there's also a little bit of an unsaid joke. I think outfielders always worry about Puig running into them, and he was hollering, "I've got it," from the moment the ball went up in the air. And Kemp kind of said, well, okay, that's normally what the center fielder does. He's the captain out here, but you're big and strong. So Ruiz out. Galvis, a big swing and a miss. 0-1 the count. Greinke has allowed 1 ground ball, and he has retired 7 in a row. Galvis takes a change, and that drops in for a strike, and the count 0-2. Coach Greinke has a good one of his own. No balls and 2 strikes. Greinke comes back 0-2. Another off-speed pitch at 68. And Galvis way out in front of it. So Hamels has a good change, and Greinke says, I'll show you mine. Big delivery, great arm speed, and then a bubble. So any way you look at it, Galvis is fooled. Couldn't wait to hit it a mile, and becomes the 3rd strikeout victim. So we have 2 down. That's 8 in a row retired. And here's Cole Hamels. Pitch on the corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. One run, 2 hits for the Dodgers, nothing across for the Phils. Hamels certainly gives you a big strike zone. Swings, doesn't get it, and the count 0-2. Outside of playing in the minor leagues and maybe taking a little BP, Cole hasn't swung a bat since last year. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Greinke comes over the top, breaking ball fouled away. Still 0-2. Cole Hamels, he'll be followed by the on-deck batter. And that would be Ben Revere, who leads off for the Phils. It's not Ben, it's usually Tony Gwynn. Strike 2 pitch on the way, taken just off the plate. Pretty good fastball at 93. One and 2. Looked like a good pitch, and it just missed. So young Gabe Morales gets a credit on that. Meanwhile, slap shot inside third down the line. The Hamels at first base, and he will hold. Kind of a half swing, and he just found the hole between Uribe and the bag. Last night, remember, A.J. Burnett had 3 hits. Cliff Lee had 1 hit in his game. So that's 5 hits for the Philadelphia pitchers in the 3 games so far. So a 2-out single breaks the spell. Laughter coming from the Phillies bench led by Burnett. So Hamels singles. Greinke had retired 8 in a row. And now he gets Revere, who flied to center in the first inning. Ben waiting, has a look, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Revere is fun to watch. One of the big reasons, and we don't know him, we haven't seen him play much, but he looks like it's so much fun to play. Every time you look, we've seen him smiling, grinning, or laughing throughout the first 2 games. Throw to first, and luckily for Greinke, he backed off the rubber because Scott Van Slyke wasn't within 10 feet of first base. Zach looks over. They're still not going to hold Hamels. You don't expect them to. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way. Zach delivers, and that's fisted foul off third down the line, and the count 0-2. Ben Revere, first round pick by the Minnesota Twins. Not for any power. With his time with the Twins, he did not hit a home run. Did not hit one last year, but he can run. He's had as many as 45 stolen bases, 40 in the big leagues. Strike 2 pitch coming up, poked at and missed. So Revere doesn't get much of a good swing and misses. 4 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. They leave Hamels, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 1-0 Dodgers. To nothing. Drew Butera left at the plate when Scott Van Slyke broke prematurely and was picked off in the second inning. So in the third, it'll be Butera, Greinke, and then Puig against Cole Hamels. Interesting background note on Cole Hamels. He married a cover girl. She was called the Survivor Amazon. Her name Heidi Strobel at the time. They were married New Year's Eve way back in 2006. And he met her when she was making an appearance when he was pitching in A-ball in the minor leagues. But the thing I love about it, I'll tell you in a moment, Cole ready into the windup and Butera way out in front of a pitch in the count 0-1. This is a quote. Hamels said, "I went to get her autograph and I asked her out. She said yes if I come to Missouri." Now they were in Clearwater, Florida. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way inside. So he asked the girl for a date. She said, "Yeah, we're in Clearwater. I want you to come to Springfield, Missouri." When I was much younger, we had an expression for a girl like that. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Hit in the air down the right field line, slicing towards the stands, reaching over and making the catch is Marlon Byrd. Fine play by the right fielder. So Butera fouls out to Marlon Byrd, 1 down. Let's get back to the date. So Cole says, I'd like to take you out. She said, fine, but you have to go to Springfield, Missouri. When I was that age, I would refer to that girl as GU. Geographically unacceptable. Yeah, that was that's the phrase we use, but Cole fortunately went to Missouri. He remembers he's pretty romantic in this sense. They went to a concert and they went to a movie. The title of the movie was Cellular, and he says, I still have the movie ticket stub. What a guy. The 1-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike, and the count 1-1. 1 out, third inning, 1-0 favor of the Dodgers. On deck, Yasiel Puig. Greinke last night got the Silver Slugger Award. Best hitting pitcher of the year. Hits a little roller slowly to Rollins. Jimmy picks it up, and running even slower than the ground ball was Greinke. So we have 2 down in the third, and Puig coming up. It was a little surprising that Greinke became so expert at swinging the bat, because the previous 2 years he wasn't hitting at all. I think 2 years ago batted 170, but then last year 328. So here's Puig. Struck out first inning, 0 for 1. Got a couple of dandy changeups. Hamels just stands out there holding the ball, waiting for Puig. Now Cole is ready. Fastball swung on, foul ball. 0-1 the count. Even that pitch, he took something off it that certainly looked like a fastball, but the gun said only 84. But some of his changeups are in the low 70s. No balls and 1 strike. Cole reading Ruiz, and the strike 1 pitch on the way, inside under the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike. Puig has studied the book. He knows about Hamels, fastball, curveball, change, and has developed a cutter. And the fastball swung on and missed. 1-2. Puig last night, hitting second in the lineup, had a double and a single. So he went 2 for 5. Yasiel waits. Hamels makes him wait. Cole delivers 1-2, and that's cut on and missed. And that was off speed. That was down around 79. So he's done it again. Strikes out Puig twice. And at the end of 3, 1-0 Dodgers.
Is brought to you by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year, and first ever back-to-back champion.
Beautiful evening. 1-0 Dodgers, fourth inning. Rollins, Utley, and Howard against Zach Greinke. Greinke retired 8 in a row, gave up a single to, of all people, Cole Hamels, and then he struck out Ben Revere. The Rollins flied to center, as did Revere and Utley in the first inning. Strike, 0-1 the count. Jimmy Rollins, an MVP back in 2007, joining some rather distinguished shortstops to win that award. Marty Marion of the Cardinals, Ernie Banks twice of the Cubs, Dick Grote of the Pirates, Maury Wills of the Dodgers, Barry Larkin of Cincinnati, and Jimmy. 1 ball, 1 strike. Floater, missed with it, 2-1. Zach Greinke with a record of 3-0, 3-1 lifetime against Philadelphia. Fastball missed, 3-1 the count. Waiting on deck, Chase Utley. And a drive to right. If it's fair, it's going to go. It's hooking down the line and goes foul. Rollins coming into the game has enough power. He had 3 home runs, 2 left, 1 right. Jimmy has hit as many as 30 home runs for the Phillies the year he was the MVP. And that's stroked into right center. That's a base hit. Might be more. Rollins runs well. Finally picked up by Puig. And into second base goes Jimmy with a double. So the tying run is out there with nobody out.
Next, number 26, Chase Utley.
So Rollins a double into the gap in right center. And now Utley, Howard, and Bird to pick him up. Jimmy just puts the bat on it. Nice, easy swing. Drives it into right center. And it's a routine double for him. Rollins, in his career, has had as many as 45 doubles. So the leadoff man in scoring position. And now here's Chase Utley. Dodgers offered Utley $1 million. They wanted to sign him badly, but he moved on, went to UCLA. The Dodgers originally drafted him as a shortstop. Chopper to short, and Ramirez had a play at third and threw to first. So that was basically a bad play by Jimmy Rollins. I wonder where Uribe was. Maybe we can tell. Hanley's going over to talk to Uribe. There's the ground ball. You see Uribe's backing up, asking for the ball. Hanley threw to first. That was not a good play on Hanley's part, although he's smiling about it. Greinke kind of looking back at him. Zach's in a crouch behind the rubber. So it's, let's say, a questionable play. Utley's retired. You rarely, if ever, see a base runner go on a ground ball, hit ahead of him. A violation of good base running, but the Phillies got away with it. So Ryan Howard with a runner at third and 1 out. There might very well have been 1 out and a runner at first. So Ryan with a shot to pick him up. Ball 1. Dodgers again load up the side. Howard hitting .270, 5 home runs, 13 runs batted in, and 1 sacrifice fly. Breaking ball just slapped at. That's going to loop into left field, and the run scores. And just like that,
The game is even. So Rollins doubles, gets away with advancing to third on a ground ball to the shortstop, and is promptly cashed in. Pitch down and away. Howard just put the bat on that, somewhat the way Cole Hamels got his base hit. So base hit for Big Ryan, run batted in. And the batter now will be Marlon Byrd. So Jimmy Rollins brings home the bacon, 1-1 here in the fourth. Marlon Byrd struck out in the second inning. One run, 3 hits for the Phils. 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Top of the fourth. Sliced foul off to the right, out of play. 0-1 the count to Marlon Byrd. Byrd, in his career playing here at Dodger Stadium, is hitting .403. Just played 17 games prior to tonight. He's made the most of it. 3 home runs, 13 runs batted in. 0-1. And that's a strike. 0-2. Greinke and Cole Hamels in a 1-1 tie. Dodgers trying to snap a 3-game winning streak for the Phils. Cole Hamels, his first start of the year. Tendinitis of the left bicep. Big slow balloon, but didn't get there. 1-2 the count. Hitting behind Byrd, Dominic Brown, left-hand batter. The Phillies are the most left-handed collection of hitters, I think, in the league. And they've loaded up again tonight. So Sandberg has left-hand hitters as Byrd, the right-hand batter, strikes out. That would be the 5th strikeout for Zach Greinke. The left-hand batters are Revere, Rollins, Utley, Howard, and Brown, along with Hamels. Rollins, of course, switches. So they are loaded from the left side. Brown grounded out. He's 0 for 1. Dominic hasn't played here long, just 9 games, hitting around 300. 0-1. Brown putting up big numbers against left-handers this year. Dominic last year had 27 home runs. He was number 1 on the club. That's a strike. 0-2. Brown has 1 home run, 10 runs batted in coming into this game. Standing at first, they don't expect Howard to even think about running. In the dirt. You look at Howard and you wonder about a man that big. Would he be running at all? And we can tell you his last stolen base was 2011. He had one before. Back in his salad days, that'd be 5 years ago, he had 8 stolen bases. He'd never had more than 1 except for that 1 year when he stole 8. And uppercut, and down you go as Brown makes a bad swing at the ball. Half a dozen strikeouts for Greinke. Rollins had a good swing, scored the run, and they're locked in at 1. 1-1 tie. By the way, the Dodger Stadium movie series will kick off this Saturday after the game with the Rockies. Fans can enjoy the movie Field of Dreams. For tickets and more information, visit Dodgers.com/movies today. 1-1, it'll be Andre Ethier, then Hanley Ramirez and Matt Kemp. Ethier, the only left-hand hitter in the Dodger lineup. A great difference from the Phillies lineup. Andre grounded to short. He has not had success against left-hand pitching. However, he did reasonably well against Cole Hamels, and that's why he's in there. Fastball for a strike, 0-1. Against Cole Hamels, Andre came into the game hitting .321, 2 home runs. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 4th. Off speed, not that real change, just a fastball, and he softened up on it, 81 miles an hour. Going after a fastball down and away. 1-2 the count. Hamels 6'3", 200, and coming up 31. In the dirt, 2 balls, 2 strikes. When you talk to Cole Hamels about developing, becoming a major league pitcher, and learning to really play the game, he said he learned the most from Jamie Moyer. Of course, Jamie Moyer had an incredible career and is now a broadcaster with the Phillies. On the hands, down goes Andre. That's the 3rd strikeout for Cole Hamels.
Dodger shortstop, number 13.
1 out in the 4th. Hanley Ramirez coming up. Just looking up Jamie Moyer's record, he was in 696 games, and he was 269 wins, 209 losses. A lot of baseball. He pitched until he was 49. Ball 1 to Hanley, 0 for 1. One ball, no strikes. Fastball pulled to third. Backing up on it is Galvis. Long throw, little toe dance by Ryan Howard. And we have 2 down in the 4th inning. That ball was hit hard, but right at Freddie Galvis. And that'll bring up Matt Kemp. Matt doubled to left field, came around to score the Dodger run in the 2nd inning. Two out, 4th inning. After the run scored, Hamels has settled down. He'd retired 7 in a row. Zach Greinke started the game off by retiring 8 in a row. Fastball, but it missed. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball, and that hooked into left center. That's going to drop for a base hit. Revere takes the ball. There goes Matt, and he's into second base with his 2nd double. So Matt Kemp, it's a good play. What makes it so good is you can see Revere is running away from the play to get the ball. And Matt, of course, runs very well. There was no play by Brown, and Revere finally gets it back in, and Matt's in there easily. So Kemp 2 for 2 with a couple of doubles, and Scott Van Slyke now will try to pick him up. Van Slyke sent him to third with a base hit in the second inning. Totals are identical: 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for each side. Fastball, but it's off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Fastball hit in the air, and it's going to be to Ben Revere. So the Dodgers waste a 2-out double by Kemp. They leave him at second base. 4 innings in the books in a 1-1 tie. Two doubles, has scored 1. They left him the second time. Interesting thing, it was last year. Cole Hamels was selected to be one of 2 players to have their pictures on the wrapper of Big League Chew. That's a brand of bubble gum. Who was the other player? You guessed it, Matt Kemp. Hamels due to bat third in the 5th inning. And Greinke, with a half a dozen strikeouts, allowed a double to Rollins, who was allowed to go to third on a ground ball by Utley and scored on a base hit by Ryan Howard. So Ruiz flied to right, 0 for 1. Strike, 0-1. Flipped that 85-mile-an-hour pitch. I'll tell you one thing on that delivery, boy, his head would have fooled a lot of hitters. Brought back memories of a pitcher with the Giants named Stu Miller, who faked a lot of hitters out just by using his head. 1-2 the count to Carlos Ruiz. Greinke has allowed 1 run, 3 hits, struck out a half a dozen. No walks. Boy, talking about strikeouts, did you read about that game last night? The Braves and the Marlins. Woods struck out 11. Fernandez struck out 14. And there were no walks. And down goes Ruiz. So 25 strikeouts. A 1-0 game. And no walks. That's 7 strikeouts for Greinke. And Freddie Galvis coming up, struck out in the third inning. Uribe in on the grass was a good thought. Galvis running up as if to bunt. 1 ball and no strikes. And Zach thinks better of it and backs off. That's a strike. 1-1. With 7 strikeouts tonight, you look back at the books, 3 consecutive starts prior to tonight. Greinke struck out 8 in each game against the Giants and twice against Arizona. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball basically hit the bat. Up and in, 92 miles an hour. Greinke had 1 year with Milwaukee where he struck out 201 batters, and he had 1 year with Kansas City where he struck out 242. Check swing, strikeout number 8, and that's 4 consecutive strikeouts for Greinke. And that'll bring up Cole Hamels, who had 2 strikes and slapped a single to left. Good breaking ball. Bottom dropped out of it. Galvis hung up. Strikeout number 8. So here is Hamels, who singled to left. 0-1. Cole hit it between Uribe and the bag and down the line. That's another strike. 0-2. Straightens him up with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Greinke is 6'2", 200-pounder. He'll be 31 years old in October. And got him. So Zach Greinke looks at Carlos Ruiz to begin the inning. And the Dodger nemesis strikes out. Then he goes after Freddie Galvis, nails him, and finally puts a ribbon on the package by striking out Hamels to give him 9. But it's still a 1-1 tie. 1-1. Zach Greinke made 12 pitches in the fifth inning to give him 76 pitches. By the way, you might wonder, he struck out 9 tonight and 5 in a row. His career high, 15 strikeouts back in 2009 against Cleveland. Meanwhile, Cole Hamels not keeping pace with strikeouts, but has the same line score. Each team 1 run, 3 hits, no errors. Juan Uribe had the sacrifice fly in the second inning to pick up Kemp for the Dodger run. Then Turner and Butera. One ball, no strikes. One ball, one strike. You know, a little while ago we were talking about the Marlins game and the Braves, 1-0. It's hard to believe at the start of today there have been 12 games already this year decided by a 1-0 score. That's the most such games before the end of April in Major League history. The old mark was 11 back in 1992. And talking about 1-0 games, the Dodgers have yet to play a 1-0 game this year. 1-2. 2-2. So there's some contradictory facts. Seems like there were so many home runs. The Dodgers, meanwhile, doing pretty well in their pitching department with strikeouts. Uribe's still there. Dodgers have struck out more times this year since 1996, and they're on a pace to strike out over 1,500 times. But their pitchers are also on a pace to strike out more, 1,543, and that's without Kershaw. Change, oh, what a pretty pitch. Gave him all the delivery in the world, great arm action. And then going from 93 to 82, and Uribe way out in front of it. No way to block. A great pitch by Hamels. Lunged at and missed by Uribe. 4 strikeouts for Cole Hamels. So I'll say one thing for Cole. He was worrying about the fact the first game of each year of the last 5, he's always had a tough time. But this is his first game this year, and he's doing very well. Ball 1. Turner flied to left field pretty deep in the second inning. D. Gordon was checked for a concussion after going into third hard last night, but he's okay. In going head first into the bag at third, his head hit Jason Nix's knee. Boy, what a year he's having, but it's only April. 2-1. It was a big play last night. Remember, he turned a single into a double and then steals third. The throw head first, bam, right into the left knee with his head. And the head always loses. Right there. That's a strike. 2-2. So D enjoying a great month, hitting .363 with a home run, 6 RBIs, and he's stolen 12 out of 13. Foul ball. Cole Hamels and Zach Greinke putting on a show. Each pitcher allowing 1 run, 3 hits. Cole has struck out 4. Zach has struck out 9 and 5 in a row. He fooled him in the location. Just as Uribe had to jump down and away and lunge at it. Uribe came up empty. Turner just did get a piece of it, so he's still there, 2-2. So Hamels and Greinke locked in a dandy. Squirted foul, hit that thing off the end of the bat, and Turner is examining the bat. Apparently it's okay. Two balls, two strikes. Waiting on deck, Drew Butera. One run and 3 hits for each side. Kemp has 2 doubles, and Van Slyke a single. Rollins has a double, singles by Howard and Hamels. Got him. Perfect pitch on the outside corner at the knees, and down goes Justin. So 5 strikeouts now for Cole Hamels.
Catcher number 31, Drew Butera.
On the corner, Gabe Morales punches him out, and the batter Butera. We were talking about that Atlanta Marlins game, but if you go way back, I mean, go back to 1901. That was very interesting. Starting pitchers, each younger than 24. July 31st, 1901. The Reds had a 22-year-old pitcher with the wonderful name Noodles Hahn, and Noodles struck out 11. The Cubs had a 22-year-old named Long Tom Hughes, and he struck out 15. Game had 28 total strikeouts, including relievers, no walks. So that's the most strikeouts without a walk being issued in any major league game since 1900. Foul back. Tonight, we're really just starting. Greinke with 9 strikeouts and no walks. Hamels, 5 strikeouts and no walks, but we're only in the 5th inning. But it is building. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball lined over a leaping Utley into right center. Butera turns, holds on. So that breaks the spell after 3 in a row retired, 2 on strikeouts, and it brings up Greinke. For the Dodgers, their 4th hit. Stay inside the ball. That's what the hitters always talk about, and that's exactly what Butera did. Stayed inside the ball and just did clear a leaping Utley. So Drew at first. And here is Greinke, grounded to short in the 3rd inning. Waiting on deck would be Yasiel Puig. Greinke 0 for 1. Ball 1. This is the toughest inning for Holes, only because Cole has struck out 2. It's a 20-pitch inning right now. Fastball, 2-0. First game back, so you wonder whether there's a pitch count on Cole Hamels. And on the corner. Missing, down and in with a fastball, and Hamels now right on the edge of giving up the first walk of the night and to the opposing pitcher. Ryan Sandberg, I'm sure, keeping track of the pitches. Not bad, 70 pitches in the fifth. 3-1. And ball 4. So after striking out Uribe and Turner, it's the bottom of the lineup that stirs the pot. The single by Butera and a walk to Greinke. Yasiel Puig put up some big numbers in the first 62 games of his career. He had 373, he had 11 home runs, 27 runs batted in. No one expected him to stay at that pace. His last 60 games, he's hitting .237. When he was hitting .373, the Dodger record was 44-18. Hitting .237, the Dodger record is 31-28. So it's been a big difference for Yasiel. It's learning time. And with 2 on and 2 out, here he comes. He has struck out twice. A hopper by the diving Galvis. Here comes Butera to score. Stopping at second is Greinke, and Puig, a line drive base hit to give the Dodgers the 2-1 lead, and a hug from Davey Lopes. The Yasiel clutch base hit. Butera brings it home. Ball well hit, a dive, but Galvis 3 feet away from that thing as it whistled into left field. So 2-1 Dodgers, 5 hits. We were talking about a pitch count on Cole Hamels, and it looks like they will get somebody up in the bullpen now to back him up. Still 2 out, and here's Andre Ethier with 2 on. Ethier is grounded to short and struck out. And a strike. I think everyone who knew about his physical condition really appreciated the all-out effort by Andre Ethier, playing all 3 games when he was really overcome by symptoms of the flu. He was actually taking IV, dehydrated, yet he didn't miss a beat against Arizona. In fact, I think he inspired Josh Beckett, who was also sick as a dog. And Beckett pitched a tough 5 innings, saying after the game, Andre Ethier is my hero. Ethier, however, has always had a tough time against left-handers, and he's up against a very crafty one. Beckett tonight must be feeling better as he talks to Butera. Last night he was bundled up, and he had that jacket with the hood on it. 0-1. Fastball, ground ball, smothered by Utley to get him. So Chase Utley makes a good play on Andre Ethier. Dodgers settle for 1 and lead 2-1.
good and dynamic Jackie Robinson was. On this day in 1954, Dodgers were in Pittsburgh at Ford Field playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jackie was apparently annoyed at some bench jockeying, whatever that went on. He proceeded to steal second, then he stole third, then he stole home, and he wasn't finished. He also drove in the game-winning run, and the Dodgers won it 6-5. In his 10 years, Jackie stole 197 bases. 19 times he stole home. He was really something. Let's go back to this one.
Don Newcomb one night, my good friend from so many years, and I asked Don, if I mention Jackie Robinson, what's the first thing you would think of? And Don was telling a story where the Dodgers had a big lead, like 11-0 playing Pittsburgh. And so Big Nuke decided to experiment with various pitches that he had never thrown before. And in a blink of an eye, looked up, the bases were loaded, and Ralph Kino was in the on-deck circle. And Don said Jackie came in from second base, called him every name that could not be repeated anywhere but on the ball field. In fact, Jackie said to Don, "I'll challenge you right now. We'll go in the clubhouse and we'll take it out." Right then. Nuke said, "I never, ever monkeyed around again with a big lead." Pop fly, that could be trouble, but coming in now is Ethier and makes the catch. So Revere goes 0 for 3 after a big night last night, but isn't that the game? Last night, Revere 4 hits. Tonight, 0 for 3 with a strikeout. And the batter, Jimmy Rollins. "78 pitches made by Zach Greinke, 74 for Hamels. Ball 1. Rollins flied to center and doubled, advanced to third on a ground to short, and scored on a base hit. Hamels has made 74, first day back. High fly ball. Here comes Kemp. Remember, he had 3 putouts in the first inning. 2 out in the 6th. And now here's Chase Utley, who made that scrambling stop of the ball hit by Ethier and took a base hit away from him. Talking about Ethier, who's out there in left field. In his major league career, he's been in 1,100 games. He's played 830 in right field, 220 in left, 84 in center, and for good measure, 1 game at first base. He has really been a handy man to have around. And so is this fella, Chase Utley. Utley coming into the game hitting a cool .391, now hitting .380. He's 0 for 2, flied to center, grounded to short, slaps it foul. 1-1. Utley was a shortstop when the Dodgers tried to sign him. And as we said, we understand they offered him $1 million to sign, and he passed it up. Went to high school at Long Beach Poly High. That's the same school that produced Tony Gwynn. Opted to move on to UCLA. All-American by the time he was a junior. 2-1. Utley back 2008 hit as many as 33 home runs. He had 3 years, 4 years in a row where he drove in over 100 runs. Waiting on deck, Ryan Howard. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball, that's hit to the gap in right center. Kemp is trying to cut it off. Let's see, it's Puig who comes up with it, but by the time he gets it in, Utley's into second base. Kemp and Puig going after that ball, bumped gloves. I think they might have bumped each other a little bit. Matt slowly walking back. It was Puig who reached down to get the ball and kind of sidearmed off balance and gets it in. Take another look. There's Kemp. Here comes Puig. Yeah, they brush block a little bit. Kemp almost went down. Got their legs tangled up. See it from this side. You saw Puig hold his hand up like, I'll get it. And they bumped a little bit. I would think when you're playing and you can see Kemp got nudged and he's shaken up a little bit down around the foot. But that wild horse, that stallion out there in right field, I'm sure you can hear him. And he can scare most outfielders and infielders too. If you're a second baseman and you have Puig in right field, it gives you a lot of thoughts. I mean, you're going out for a pop fly and you can hear him coming. Well, Matt is uncomfortable. 2 out, tying run at second base, Utley. That means Ramirez's job behind second base to try and hold Utley on. And they're going to go after him, and the throw gets away, but it's on the infield. Gutierrez, good play. Utley back on the bag. Hanley smiling in at the catcher as if to say that's okay. Hanley was only really interested in blocking that ball because he knew the throw didn't have enough on it to catch and tag. So 2 pros out there. Utley on the bag, Ramirez behind him, and a 2-ball no strike count on Ryan Howard. Ball 3. On deck, the right-hand batter, Marlon Byrd. So it looks like they're pitching around Howard. Not that Bird's a walk in the park, but he struck out twice tonight. 3-0. Now they'll say, okay, let's make it official. Put him on. On the ball, hit by Utley into right center. Look at Kemp. I don't know if he slipped or just tried to jam on the brakes because he knew he was going to have a collision with Puig. And whatever he did, he hurt his foot. Then he gestures as if say it's my fault. So that's what he's saying. My fault. And he's not 100%, but he does have 2 doubles tonight. All right, here's Bird. 2 on, 2 out, 6th inning, 2-1 Dodgers. Foul back. 0-1. Greinke has 9 strikeouts, and he hasn't had to make a lot of pitches for each strikeout. The most pitches for one of his strikeouts were 5 pitches. He had 5 pitches where it took 4 pitches, and he had 3 strikeouts where it took only 3 pitches. Usually you pile up strikeouts, you pile up pitches, and he's already made 90. And off the rubber. Utley at second, Howard at first with 2 down. Bird with the left hand hitting Brown on deck. No balls, 1 strike. Little nubber out in front of the plate. Gutierrez picks it up, fires to first. Boy, was that a play. It looked for a minute like he would bump into Greinke and be unable to throw. But instead, Drew makes a dandy. Watch this. Here comes Greinke. Big bump. And boy, did he fire that thing. No runs, a hit, 2 left. It's still 2-1 Dodgers. waiting to catch an imaginary ball. He knows he's on camera, not too happy about it. Yes, sir, big eyes. A reminder, bring the family to Dodger Stadium Friday. Dodgers and Rockies 7:10. Enjoy a Friday night fireworks show, compliments of Denny's. And for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Bottom of the 6th inning, Dodgers lead 2-1. Ramirez, Kemp, and Van Slyke in that order. Hanley is 0 for 2. Grounded to short, grounded very hard to third. Waiting on deck, Matt Kemp, who was a little bit banged up in that brush with Puig. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits for the Phils. Off speed, there's that great change. He's gotten it as low as 69, but he really gave Ramirez the full treatment. You had to believe with that windup he was going to throw fastball, and then he just pulled the string. 0-1. And almost the same pitch, maybe a mile more, but that was still off speed. 1-1. And that seemed to cut a little bit, but it wasn't thrown hard. So everything is slow. 2 balls and 1 strike to Ramirez. There's the fastball, and it's hit a mile high, but going foul. Boy, was that thing hit up in the air. So after all the slow stuff, he finally got a pitch with a little movement, guessed it, and pulled it too much. And that's ripped down the line. Fair ball. Over to get it is Dominic Brown. Hanley on his way for 2. He is in there with the double. So Ramirez, a sharp double into the left field corner. He has reason to smile now. He's hit the ball hard a couple of times, including a couple of fouls, but that's pure Ramirez. I mean, did he ever turn on that? So a leadoff double by Hanley Ramirez. That would be the 3rd double for tonight. Matt Kemp has 2, and Matt's coming up. So Ramirez all smiles. He has no doubt it's just his timing that's a little off. He now has 8 doubles. When he is on, he is really something. I can still see that home run he hit in San Diego that hit the Western Supply Company in left field. Oh. Now Kemp. And ball 1. The Hamels throwing a lot of off-speed pitches, and then suddenly Ramirez hits one a mile foul and drills one for a double, so they're up in the pen again. He's now made 80 pitches. Jeff Manship, we saw Jeff briefly last night. Actually, night before, he pitched the 9th inning. 1 ball, no strikes. And ball 2. Kemp has double to left, double to left center. Kemp was hitting .360 against Hamels anyway coming into the game. Fastball, a mile high fly ball, but that's all it's going to be. Tagging is Ramirez, catch by Revere, The long throw on a hop right to the third baseman. Boy, isn't that something? Little guy out there in dead center, probably 370 feet away from third base. Just watch. One hopper. Galvis standing right on the bag. Wow, that's big league all the way. So Ramirez at third, one out on that fly ball. And the batter is Van Slyke. Infield up on the right side, halfway on the left. Outfield fanned out straight away. Ball one. Ryne Sandberg, a rare man indeed to be an MVP and in the Hall of Fame and managing. 2-0. Over in the Dodger dugout, Don Mattingly, he was an MVP. Kirk Gibson left, he was an MVP. I'm trying to remember the last time the Dodgers played someone, a Hall of Fame manager. So Van Slyke hits it about 10 feet, and Ramirez has nowhere to go. Juan Uribe. He had a sacrifice fly and struck out. Dodgers lead 2-1. Juan Uribe, through April the 15th, was hitting .379. He had 5 3-hit games in 14 games. In the last 8 games, however, he's been brought back to earth. He has just 4 hits, batting .167. Little roller to short. Here comes Rollins. Boy, they couldn't wait to swing. Van Slyke and Uribe make easy outs, and the Dodgers leave a runner at third. And at the end of 6, it's just still 2-1 Dodgers. Is driven by your Southern California Mazda dealers. Seventh inning. Dodgers leading 2-1. It'll be Dominic Brown, Carlos Ruiz, and Freddie Galvis. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits for the Phils. Dodgers might rue the day. They left Kemp at second base in the 4th inning. And they left Ramirez at third with 1 out in the 6th. You know what we're trying to figure? We don't want you to get on the phone or do any work. Maybe We're trying to figure out, every time we look at Ryne Sandberg in the Philadelphia dugout, we get the same question. When was the last time there was a Hall of Famer managing against the Dodgers? I mean, sure, Tommy Lasorda's in the Hall, but he doesn't manage. But who the heck is it? A manager in the Hall of Fame. Ryan talking to Larry Boa and Dominic Brown waiting. Slow curveball fouled off, 0-2. There's a rule, for instance, Tommy Lasorda went into the Hall of Fame. Then he had to wait 5 years, I believe, before he could even think about coming back. And by that time, let's just say the time had passed for him. But who was the last manager managing against the Dodgers who was in the Hall of Fame? Frank Robinson, I don't think ever managed against the Dodgers when he had already been elected into the Hall of Fame. The Washington Nationals? Could be, yeah. J.P. Howell is up in the Dodger bullpen. 0-2. Just show the fastball. 1-2. Greinke had made 91 pitches. He's now up to 95. Greinke is also in uncharted waters now. That's a foul tip. Hit the bat. Down goes Brown on a check swing. That's 10 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. Take another look. Check. Ball hits bat. Down you go. Foul tip. So 10 strikeouts for Zach Greinke, his career high 15. In his games this year, he has not gone beyond 6 innings. Went 5, 6, then 5 1/3, and 6. Here he is, 1 out in the 7th. That's a very welcome performance, especially for the Dodger bullpen. Just missed. 1-1. Ruiz flied to right, struck out, catching every inning of probably all 4 games. Fastball. In Zach Greinke's career, with 10 strikeouts tonight, he's had 18 games of 10 or more strikeouts in his career. 18. And as we said, one year in the American League, 242 strikeouts. Fastball hit late and foul. So Ruiz back up, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dodgers scored in the 2nd and in the 5th. Phillies scored in the 4th. JP still loosening up. Two balls, 2 strikes. Carlos Ruiz, the man from Panama. And he goes all the way. Ruiz last winter signed a 3-year deal with the Phillies. So he's going to be around a while. 3-2. Hit down the line, foul, out of play. Cody Ashe comes out on deck, left-hand batter. He would hit for Freddie Galvis. 3-2 with one out. Check swing, got him. 11 strikeouts for Zach Greinke. 2 out in the 7th. Greinke struck out 2 in the 2nd inning back-to-back, 2 in the 4th back-to-back, 3 in a row in the 5th inning, and now 2 back-to-back in the 7th. He also picked up 2 more in the 3rd inning, but not back-to-back. So now Rick Honeycutt out to talk to him. 104 pitches. We'll see if they will try to get him through the inning. They could then bat for him. Greinke is due up to hit 3rd in the 7th inning. So JP is waiting to see. You have a young left-hand hitter on deck to face him. And they stay with Greinke. So Cody Ashe, who's out of Missouri and went to the University of Nebraska. He accepted a baseball scholarship to the university and majored in economics. And ball 1. Cody got here in a hurry. He was drafted in 2011. 1 ball and 1 strike. Good size, 6'1", 190. Plays third base, and if need be, he can play first base. And pops it in the air. Foul. Uribe, I think, has a play. He does. And makes it. So Ashe fouls out on the pop fly. A great 7 innings turned in by Zach Greinke. And he strikes out 11 along the way. Gets a standing ovation, and the Dodgers lead 2-1. Dodgers lead 2-1, bottom of the 7th inning. A magnificent pitching duel for Cole Hamels, first time out. He was very, very tough, made 86 pitches and limited the Dodgers to just 2 runs and 6 hits. Meanwhile, Jeb Manship, who pitched the other night and pitched the 9th inning, comes in to go up against the Dodgers in the bottom of the 7th. Cody Ashe, who pinch hit and fouled out, is at third base. Ball one to Justin Turner. Flied to left. Struck out. So far, 16 strikeouts in the game. 11 chalked up by Zach Greinke. Fouled away. No one throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Greinke has made 107 pitches, so you think he's finished. He's still in the dugout, but windbreaker on, walking the far end. So we'll see if he hangs around. 1-1. Fouled away. Manship, 6'1", 210. Just turned 29. Went to Notre Dame. He's from San Antonio, Texas. His brother was a top relief pitcher at Stanford. Originally drafted by the Twins. In the dirt, 2-2. He went to Ronald Reagan High School in San Antonio. Manship in 2004 underwent Tommy John surgery his freshman year at Notre Dame. Another foul ball. Manship, great curveball, they'd say. Good sinking fastball, changeup, and a slider that's become pretty much of a strikeout pitch for him. Two and two. Fastball at 91. Down goes Turner. 1 out in the 7th inning. So 6 Dodgers have struck out tonight and 11 Phils. 17 strikeouts in the game. And now Drew Butera. Fly to right and single to right against the left-hander. We'll see what he does now against the right-hander. By the way, we were looking at Ryne Sandberg and wondering about the last Hall of Fame manager to manage against the Dodgers. Frank Robinson, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1982. He managed the Giants after he went into the Hall of Fame, and that was the key. He had already managed the Indians, but in 1982 Frank went in and he managed for the Giants. Later on in 85 he was with the Orioles, and in 2002 he was with the Montreal Expos and took them to Washington. Butera, meanwhile, argues, but down he goes. So Manship strikes out 2. That means 7 Dodgers have struck out, 18 strikeouts in the game. The last time, the actual last time that Frank managed against the Dodgers would be July the 30th, 2006 with the Nationals. So that clears it up. But it is rare indeed to have a Hall of Famer actually managing, actually being in uniform and active. So Zach staying in for the at-bat. 1-1. Dodgers are a little short. Remember, they sent Sean Figgins out to get Jose Dominguez to get an extra pitcher. So the bench really is one man short. Howell is throwing, and even though Greinke is batting, he might come out of the game. Check swing. I would guess after 107 pitches, Howell will be coming in and Greinke will be gone out. Hard ground ball. That's why they let him hit. So Greinke will have himself a stand-up double at second base. Coming with 2 out, and it'll bring up Yasiel Puig. So when you have Greinke, it's like having a pinch hitter. And he hits it just by Ashe. It's also tough for Ashe sitting on the bench and then going out to play the field. So Puig comes up. Greinke puts on the windbreaker. Puig struck out twice, singles the left. All those at-bats were against the left-handed Cole Hamels. So now he'll have a look at Manship. Let's look when Manship pitched in Game 1. He pitched the 9th inning, and he got Puig to ground to third. A.J. Ellis must be dying inside that he can't play. So here's Puig trying to pick up Greinke. And ball one. Puig's base hit in the 5th inning scored Butera from second base, and that broke the 1-1 tie. Manship is due to bat and lead off the 8th inning for the Phillies. 1 ball, no strikes. And that's hit in the air to right. Going back on the ball is Bird to the track at the wall. Off the wall at the 375-foot sign. And the Wild Horse will have a triple. Yasiel Puig makes it easy for Greinke to score from second by hitting the bricks 375 feet away. Bird went back. I think that Puig thought it might go out. It just missed. And by the time the Phils run the ball down, Greinke walks in and Puig lets out. The barn door is open and there goes the Stallion. In there without a play. So Yasiel, 2 big hits, 2 big runs batted in. And now it looks like Ryne Sandberg will make a double switch. Ashe, who just got in the game, is coming out for Jason Nix. And they're also going to go to the bullpen. So Ashe didn't play long, fouled out, diving, couldn't get the double, and he's out of the game, and we'll be back. Horse with its mane in the breeze racing across the spaces. Watch Puig. Takes a look, not a home run. Okay, turn it into high gear. Triple without a play. And more importantly, a run batted in. Applause from Mark McGwire in the dugout, and the Dodgers lead 3-1. Mario Holland, a left-hander all the way from Oakland, and Jason Nix at third base. Slow curveball for a strike. If you're keeping score, put Holland in Galvis number 8 spot. He won't come up. Nix will bat ninth and lead off in the 8th inning. Mario Holland will be 26. Fastball misses. 1-1. Andre Ethier grounded to short, struck out, grounded to second. All 3 trips against the left-hander Hamels. Meanwhile, Greinke scores a run to add to everything else he's done tonight. Fastball missed. 2-1. Two out. Puig at third. 2 balls, 1 strike. Little pop foul. Here comes Nix. Backhands. Oh, hit that railing, but he makes a fine play. So Ethier fouls out. Dodgers tonight have left Ramirez at third, Puig at third, Kemp at second, but Greinke did score, and the Dodgers lead 3-1. Top of the 8th inning. A reminder of the games coming up. One more left with the Phillies tomorrow night. That'll be Dan Herron on the mound against Kyle Kendrick, and then the hard-hitting Rockies will be in Friday night, Saturday at 6, Sunday at 1, and the Dodgers then will go out on the road. Minnesota, Miami, and Washington, and when they come home, a 4-game series with the Giants. Meanwhile, Puig drives in a big run with a triple. More importantly now, Zach Greinke has gone back out to the mound. He's made 107 pitches, and the Dodgers, as long as he feels up to it, have decided to let him go out there. Mattingly knows it's not a risk really because he has Howell ready in the pen. But Greinke, 107 pitches, then doubles, then scores on the triple by Puig, and he goes back out to the mound. Fastball and a high fly ball to deep left. Ethier to the track, at the wall, and gone. So Jason Nix gets in the game, has one swing, and hits a home run. So Greinke went out there, and we'll see now if that was ill-advised as Nix hits it out, and suddenly 3-2. Here comes Mattingly, and the Dodgers lost the gamble. So Jason Nix, who played third base last night and did not hit a ball out of the infield, hits one over the fence, dropped by a fan out there wearing Puig's number, and Greinke has had it. He goes out, a round of applause from 40,776. He allowed 2 runs, struck out 11, and we'll be right back. He almost acts like a losing pitcher going out of the game. Anything but. He had a brilliant night. Just made one pitch too many, I guess. 108 pitches made by Zach. Dodgers still lead 3-2, though that's a big run knocked in by Puig to cash in Greinke. Jason Nix got into the game, had one swing and hit a home run. So now Revere 0 for 3 facing Howell. Right. Revere flied to center, struck out, flied to left, 0 for 3, coming off that 4-hit game last night. Greinke along with Adrian Gonzalez now watching the rest of the game. One ball and one strike. Greinke allowing 2 runs and 5 hits, struck out 11, walked 1, and that was intentional. It also means that Greinke now has worked 17 consecutive starts where he's allowed 2 runs or less, 2 tonight, and worked at least 5 innings. He went 7 tonight. Chopper to the right side to Turner. So they get Revere, who goes 0 for 4. 1 down. That's the life of the ball player. 4 hits yesterday, nada tonight.
Batting next, number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins twice flied to center, doubled to center, scored a run. Jason Nix, who had 1 swing and hit a home run, he took the elevator to the penthouse last night. Jason Nix went to the plate 5 times, did not hit a ball out of the infield, and for good measure was hit by a pitch and thrown out trying to steal. But tonight, the home run. Rollins with Utley on deck. Right. Jimmy Rollins and J.P. Howell. Let's look that up. Rollins just 0 for 1 against him. Howell pitched the 10th inning last night. The drop fly ball collision with Ramirez and Crawford gave him the loss. High foul ball. Here comes Puig. In fact, it stays fair. 2 down. 2 out in the 8th, and here's Chase Utley. Utley is flied to center, grounded to short, doubled, 1 for 3. Utley against JP, 1 for 3. Utley did not play last night. In case you care, Nix faced Howell last night and grounded to short. Ball 1. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Phils in the 8th inning. And Greinke, along with Adrian Gonzalez, spectators. That's a strike. Utley with Ryan Howard on deck. Marlon Byrd to follow him. And Chris Perez down in the bullpen. 1-1. Little roller foul. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th inning, they'll have Ramirez, Kemp, and Van Slyke. Hanley 1 for 3 tonight, hit 2 balls very hard. Kemp 2 for 3 with a couple of doubles. And Van Slyke 1 for 3 with a single. In the dirt, 2-2. James Philip Howell, better known as JP. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. JP's been a pro since 2004. Came up to the big leagues in 2005, briefly with the Royals. On the hands, whoa, what a great pitch that was. Utley's still standing at home plate. So Howell does the job after the home run by Jason Nix. Look at this thing. And it's 3-2 Dodgers. We're heading for the bottom of the 8th. You can follow every Dodger game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audio, free MLB TV game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Dodgers.com today. Tough ball game, bottom of the 8th inning, 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Ramirez, Kemp, and Van Slyke. Mario Holland is still in there. Ramirez grounded to short, grounded hard to third, and doubled hard to left. Dodgers left him at third base. That could be expensive, we'll see. So Mario Hollins, a very bright guy, almost hit him, ball 1. We say he's very bright. He graduated from UC Santa Barbara with a degree in sociology, but he wasn't through with that. He continued study and working online. That misses. He took courses with the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, working toward a degree in merchandise marketing. Mario Hollins with an S. He really has a funky delivery. Kind of hides the ball at the rib cage. Kind of pitches in sections rather than a smooth delivery. This is his first year in the big leagues. He was signed in 2010. There's the turn to hide the ball. Fouled off. So they let Hanley swing 3-0. Take another look at this delivery. See how the ball just disappears. And from another angle, everything turns to his left side. Like that. Fastball hit to dead center. Back goes Revere, away way back. Hanley has come home. It took him a little while. As he said, it will only take one swing, and I think the swing that got him well was when he grounded out in the fourth inning. The next time up he hit the double, and the next time up he crushes one to center. So the Dodgers heave a big sigh of relief. That's the Hanley they've grown accustomed to seeing. He just went down to get it, big swing, and he knew he had jumped on it. He took a good look before letting the bat go. So the Dodgers back to a 2-run lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. And here's Matt Kemp in for a strike. For Hanley Ramirez, his 3rd home run, 9 RBIs. Not only does he feel better, I'm sure Don Mattingly and company feel very better. Ground ball to the left of Rollins. Jimmy is up with it. And they get Kemp, so he goes 2 for 4. And now the batter, Scott Van Slyke.
First baseman, number 33, Scott Van Slyke.
Scott Van Slyke, single to left, fly to center, topped the ball out in front of the plate. That broke his heart when he topped the ball because Ramirez was at third with 1 out, and there was no chance to pick him up. So Hanley does it himself. 4-2 Dodgers in the 8th. 1 ball and no strikes. No swing. Fastball. 1-1. Four runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. They have 3 doubles, a triple, and a home run. That's a strike. 1-2. Dodgers now have 46 doubles, 4 triples, 21 home runs. And that's a shot down the line. That's going to be another extra base hit. Van Slyke on his way to second for a double. So 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run with 1 out. And the batter will be Uribe. So Scott Van Slyke goes 2 for 4 as he shoots one down the line. No chance for Nix on that ball. So Holland, who came in, and Greinke doubled, and then Puig tripled, and that might be all for Mario. Bob McClure, the pitching coach, but Brian Sandberg is going to do it himself. Sean Camp, a right-hander, down in the bullpen. So Hollins leaves, Dodgers lead, and we'll be back. To stop the bleeding after the leadoff home run by Ramirez, a one-out double by Van Slyke. Out goes Hollins, and here comes Sean. He's out of Fairfax, Virginia. Went to George Mason University. Originally signed by the Padres, although he never made it to San Diego. He did come up with the Royals, then the Devil Rays. He had 4 years with the Blue Jays, 2 years with the Cubs. He's 6'1", 200. Originally signed back in 2002. And he'll face Juan Uribe. Uribe 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. Fastball, foul back, no play. 40,776. Tomorrow night, Kyle Kendrick, and he'll go up against Dan Herron. That will conclude the 4 games with Philadelphia. And then the Rockies come in. Rockies lost to the Giants today, a nice little game in Denver, 12-10. Fastball. Backing up for the Hoppers Knicks. The long throw. Wow, that was close. Very close. So Uribe hustling down the line. Van Slyke moves to third. And the batter will be Justin Turner. Jason Nix came into the game, had one swing and hit a rather dramatic home run. Brian Hagan looked it up. Jason now has 38 career home runs. His last 5 victims, John Lester, Justin Verlander, Yu Darvish, Mark Burley, and Zach Greinke was welcome to the club tonight. 0-1 to count to Justin. Flied to left, struck out twice. And that's going to be hit into right center for a base hit. Scoring on the play is Van Slyke. And the Dodgers now have a little breathing room, leading 5-2. So Turner, base hit, run batted in. So the hit is charged to Camp. The run is charged to Hollins. Breaking ball, and Turner just stayed with it. Now the batter, Drew Butera, who is 1 for 3. That's a strike. Butera flied to right, singled to right, scored a run, and struck out. J.P. Howell made 12 pitches. Kenley Jansen was throwing in the pen. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez comes out. That's going to be a base hit. Stopping at second is Turner. So the Dodgers now 5 runs, 12 hits. So the Dodgers coming alive with the bat tonight. And now Adrian Gonzalez will come up against Camp. Batting for Howell. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen has stopped throwing. Bob McClure has gone to the mound to talk to Sean Camp. Kenley last night made 17 pitches. Howell last night made 15 pitches. Howell came right back tonight and made 12. So now McClure has had his words with Camp. JP done his job, and Gonzalez hitting for him. Adrian had his 16-game hitting streak snapped. He's hitting .288, 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in, 2 on, 2 out. Utley plays him about 4 or 5 feet out on the grass. Foul back, 0-1. Kenley Ramirez perking up tonight as he talks to Mark McGwire, and they both seem happy with his performance. Tell you, that ground ball to third in the 4th inning, that looked like Kenley, and he's followed that with a double and a home run. 0-1. 1-1. Sean Camp, an interesting man and a good man. He and his wife, they contribute to children with special needs. They work with Down syndrome children. They spend time Christmas Eve with children in the oncology unit in Fairfax Hospital. Ball 2, 2-1. Two on, 2 out, 5-2 Dodgers. Fastball hit in the air to center. Going back on it is Revere at the wall almost to make the catch. So Gonzalez a long out. The Dodgers put together 2 singles, a double, and a home run. The home run by Hanley Ramirez told you that he finally got his swing in order as he drives it out, and the Dodgers lead 5-2. Dodgers on an even keel. They now lead 5-2 as we go to the 9th inning. And Kenley Jansen will be coming in. Jansen made 17 pitches in the 9th inning last night. In fact, the Dodger relief corps last night had 35, 15, 50. They made 65 pitches in last night's game. That would be Withrow, Wilson, Jansen, and Howell. And tonight it's Howell and Jansen. Adrian Gonzalez stays in the game at first base, though you can put Jansen in Van Slyke's spot. And here we go. Ryan Howard struck out, single to left, was walked intentionally in the 6th inning. And the strike. Dodgers extra base wild tonight. 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run. On 1 to Ryan. 95 miles an hour, 1 ball and 1 strike. For Kenley Jansen, he is in his 15th game. This is the Dodgers' 22nd game. 1-2. Ryan Howard, 1 for 2. High fly ball to Matt Kemp. 1 away in the 9th inning.
Right field, number 3, Marlon Byrd.
5 putouts in center field for Matt Kemp. Howard goes 1 for 3. And now the batter, Marlon Byrd. Struck out twice, topped out in front of the plate, 0 for 3. On 1. Dodgers trying to snap a possible 4-game winning streak for Philadelphia. They got a fine performance from Cole Hamels. Ryne Sandberg couldn't have asked much more. Hamels went 6, allowed only 2 runs. Dodgers, however, were able to catch up against Manship and Holland. Got a couple of extra base hits against Camp. Puig with a single and a triple. Ramirez with a double and a home run. Matt Kemp with 2 doubles. They led the attack. 1-2 to Marlon Byrd. On deck, Dominic Brown. Remember earlier we were talking about Ryne Sandberg and how rare it is that the manager of the opposing team is a Hall of Famer. And after scouring the books, come up with Frank Robinson. Well, we've come up with one more. I haven't, but the fellas have. Bob Lemon. He was in the Hall of Fame and he managed the Yankees against the Dodgers in the World Series. High fly ball to Puig. So 2 down in the 9th inning, and Dominic Brown, the batter. Grounded to second, struck out twice. "12 Phillies struck out tonight. Greinke in going after his 4th win. Struck out 11. Foul ball out of play. If Greinke wins tonight and he's 1 out away from a victory, he would improve to 4-0 for only the 2nd time in his career. When he was with Kansas City, the year he won the Cy Young Award, he started out 6-0. The last Dodger to open the season 4-0 or better, Chad Billingsley, who won his first 4 back in 2009 and actually went 5-0 in his first 6 starts. And of course, if the Dodgers change their mood now with this victory tonight, they also have to think about the fact that Clayton Kershaw will begin another big step towards coming back. Fouled away. 40,776. Hope you make your plans to be with us tomorrow. From what we hear, although not officially, but it could be, Clayton will pitch a rehab game Friday night. Maybe. But he's certainly in a happy mood. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2 out in the ninth. 5-2 Dodgers. Kenley ready to make his 14th pitch. Got him. So 13 Phils struck out tonight. 7 Dodgers, so 20 strikeouts tonight. Greinke is now 4-1 lifetime against Philadelphia, 4-0 against the league. He continues 17 straight where he's gone at least 5, allowing 2 runs or less. Jansen comes in, makes 14 pitches after working last night and making 17. The players of the game, certainly Zach Greinke, pitching a magnificent game into the 8th inning. And how about Yasiel Puig with the single in the 5th, and then of course the exciting triple. The base hit in the 5th inning scored Butera. The triple hit the wall 375 feet away, missing going out by a foot, and that cashed in Greinke. So the Dodgers put it all together. Tomorrow night they'll have Dan Herron on the mound against Kyle Kendrick. Hope you'll be out here with us. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening.